All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to our third module. I'm hoping you guys are feeling great. I mean, the music has set the tone. So I hope everyone is feeling good. I see Mali in the charts. Hello, Rwanda. Hello, Nigeria. I saw Rume said he wants to sing for us. I think maybe we should give you the mic at the end of the session so you can sing for us and see if you can match the energy. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Hello, Ghana, Morocco there, I see you. South Africa, I see you. Zimbabwe, hi Stella, Malawi, I see you guys, and thank you for joining us as we kick off this amazing module. It's gonna be epic. Now that we've gotten our mindset in the room, we've known how to clean our data, now it's time to work with the data. Now is the beginning of the hard things. So let me not waste much of your time and let us just get busy with the business for today. So my name is Tendai. I am your community analyst. If you are active on the community spaces, you should know me by now. And I am co-hosting with the Coyote, our data analyst, joining us all the way from Nigeria. And he's going to be taking today's class. So please, guys, let us make it fun. Let us make it engaging. And before we get busy, let me just take you through the agenda for the day, just to give each other a round of how we're going to be doing our session today. We'll start with the rules of engagement because we understand that every house has its rules and we have to adhere to those rules. And then we'll have our main session with Coyote, then Q&A, and then we'll just take you guys through support channels and then we'll give you updates and announcements. So our rules of engagements, for some who are joining us for the first time, or for some who need a reminder, please, guys, if you have any questions, just post them on the Q&A. As the session is going, post your question. If you do not understand, our tutors are all here. They are going to answer your questions live. Then feel free to use the chat liberally and respectfully. We'll be opening it ad hoc. That means it will mostly be closed and only open for interaction with Coyote. But most importantly, please let us listen, learn, and engage. And now, for the main session, I present to you Mr. Coyote from Nigeria. Let us give him a round of applause, guys. Let's get the house shaking. Let's give him the energy that he needs.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Tendai. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me in this session. I hope we'll have fun together. I'm really happy you've gotten to this stage. I want to applaud all your hard work. It's not easy, but you're here. Little by little, you find out that things might become a little tricky, but once again, that's why we are here. This webinar will be kicking off the querying data module, and we're focusing on using SQL. And as we go further, you see the tools we'll use with SQL, the guidelines, and then we'll have a main demo. And let me see if you guys be able to remember, towards the end, I have a special joke I constructed for this webinar. If we have enough time, while I'm solving some questions, if you can remind me towards the end, then you might get to hear the joke. So yeah, let's dig in. Let's move on. So you've been working with Google Sheets. So you might begin to wonder, but Google Sheets stores data, stores what I want, names, numbers, addresses, etc., etc., etc. What is SQL? Why do I even need SQL? But the thing is, the truth about it is that as you go further, as the data becomes bigger, you find out that with Google Sheets, you start struggling. Either it becomes too slow, among other things, it's not as secure. Yeah, you start having issues. Then you now start thinking, what tool can I use? So that's why I notice even the way we structured the program, precept upon precept. And when we go further, I'll still have to refer you to Explore 101, solving problems using pseudocode, decision making, using the comparison operators. But I digress. So, first of all, what is SQL? It's it's a language, programming language like any other one. It's a structured query language to communicate with relational databases. It's that simple. I'll try my best because I know a lot of us are learners, and this is the first time we are coming in contact with something like this. Don't worry, we all started as learners too. Yes, all of us on this call, and here we are. So I'll try my best. There's nothing to be scared of. I know, especially when we get to the syntax part, to break it down as much as I can. So SQL is just a language, it's a tool, a language to communicate with relational databases. You manipulate the database, you extract data, you organize the data. It's just another tool. I'm stressing on it being another tool because I remember when we kicked off the course, people were saying, why don't we use Excel? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And I refer again to Explore 101. We teach you the basics, how to solve problems, so that you know whatever tool you have in your hand, or even know the tool, you'll be able to know the tool to use to solve whatever problem you have. So for this part of the course, we will be using MySQL Workbench and also a Jupyter Notebook. The good news, guys, is next week I'll still be the one, giving the webinar, and then we'll go further using the Jupyter Notebook. But for today, we will be focusing on MySQL Workbench. So, what is a database? It's a collection of structured data. It's organized and stored so that it makes sense for us to access. I say structured data. Yeah, I think structured data is the lowest level we can go. And data can almost be anything. And there are different kind of databases that store almost everything. There are databases that store music, images, sounds. But if you notice, in this particular part of the course, we're focusing on relational databases that stores data in rows and columns. So simply, it's a collection. A database is just a collection of structured data that is organized and stored in ways that allow for efficient data manipulation, management, and retrieval. You can store things like text, strings, numbers, dates, documents, among other things. But for now, it's a beginner course. Yeah, so we focus on relational databases. And it's built and maintained by SQL, the programming language I mentioned before, the tool that you use to interact with it, to manipulate it, to create tables, to create databases in it, yeah, etc. So it's that simple. I hope we are still comfortable. And there are also different types of databases. Like I mentioned earlier, to store you have different types because you need to store different kind of things. You have the relational database, you have the graph, you have various types of databases to store different things. But for now, we'll focus on the relational database. From the start, I've been giving hints. Why do we need a database? Why do we need a database? First of all, it's secure. I don't know if any of you have forgotten your password yet for MySQL Workbench. In fact, at the end, we are even going to give you tips on how to create your password because you would have issues if you don't do it the right way. Yeah. So that security is there. You don't want anybody tampering with your data. You want the data to have something referred to as data integrity. Means we can trust this data. You don't want whereby you have a data set that is talking about, let's say, the UN SDG goals, and then in one of the rows, you now see data regarding sports betting. You understand? You get. So one of the main themes, the main reasons you use databases are for security and also accuracy. First of all, if the data is secure, then the accuracy, the degree of accuracy is improved, is higher because not everyone has access to it. And also there are restrictions or constraints, especially when you're creating a database. You see as we go further, especially in the syntax, you see where we say, okay, we are creating a database. We want this table, and in this table, we want this column. And in this column, this is the data type we want. Is it an integer? Is it a varchar? Is it date or time? So what should not be there does not find its way there to the best of our ability. We try that because no matter how you at times collect the data, there might still be one or two things or even no values, but the database helps create that boundary to that increase accuracy. So it increases accuracy, efficiency, and even decision making to handle complex operations. For example, you can see the complex concepts, we grapple with, especially the theme of this course, the SDG goals, is a really complex problem because you are trying to solve real life problems that affect people, that affect lives, even generations unborn. Because if everything we do, if we fix everything in Africa, everything is good, the generations unborn, when they come in, they won't have to struggle to migrate or endure various indignities. They'll be comfortable here. Then another point is collaboration. It's easily acceptable to multiple people. You see, in this era, Tendai is in another country, hosting me in another country, giving a webinar. So you find out that remote work is a thing. So it's accessible to people simultaneously. A lot of people from different countries or different locations can work on the same database and get results and get insights. And then remember I mentioned that it gets to a stage if you keep adding data to Google Sheets. If you keep adding data to Google Sheets begins to struggle. But with a database, you can always scale as it grows. That's why we can say, oh yeah, we've done Google Sheets. Let's just call it a day. Give my certificate. I'm good to go. I can query data on Google Sheets and even do charts. No, we need stronger tools for bigger data. Now, we're going to talk of the database management system. Essentially, it's just a middleman. Let's put it that way. It's just a middleman between you and the database. In the diagram, you can see that, okay, there are times when applications without the human being interact with the database using the DBMS. But for now, it's a middleman. It's nothing complicated. It's just a system software. It allows the users like you and I to create, store, retrieve data, run queries, etc. on the database. So the main thought should be, okay, this database management system, like my SQL Workbench, is a middleman interacting, helping me to interface with the database. It's as simple as that. And at times, yes, in the diagram here, you can see applications. Yes, occasionally applications interact with the database using the DBMS too. But we'll focus on us, the human interaction, querying the data, creating the data, altering the data, etc. So I hope that makes sense. And like I mentioned earlier, we'll be focusing on the relational database management system. And a relational database is it stores data in rows and columns. Let's just leave it at that. And here relational, okay, just think rows and columns in tables. So once again, definition here on the slide you can see is used to store data in form of related tables made up of rows and columns. And that related to, you can see it's highlighted because when you're creating database, you have to create the primary key. You say example, okay, the second, a foreign key, and you have to make sure that they make sense. You can't just label them anyhow. So that's where that related comes in, but that shouldn't be any hassle. But once you just say relational, just think of table, rows, and columns, and you're good to go. I can see various examples. Moving on, we can see this diagram. Don't worry, relax, it's fine. When you go through Athena and even when you go through further webinars, you get to experience something called an ARD, entity relationship diagram. So this is an ARD of the data set we'll be using to play around today. Yes, it's called the Lex data set. It's just a hypothetical scenario of students, instructors, their courses and marks on a database. So when you go further, when you go to the course content on Athena and in the webinars to come, get more insight on how the diagrams relate to each other, why we have the diagrams, etc., etc. But for now, just look at it as just a diagram trying to show you how the tables relate. So once again, the relational database is to store data in the form of related tables. You can see example of the tables made of rows and columns. Students, course, marks, instructor. These are the tables. And when we get to the live demo, you will see how these tables are created. And also, you will be given, the data set and the document. So you'll be able to create this database on your own, because I'll give you one or two things. I don't call them homework, but something you can go and try, play with. You answer some questions, because we have a lot of questions we'll go through. And then this should help you, build your understanding and give you a soft landing, introducing you gently to SQL. Yeah. So, like you see, I mentioned earlier, I mentioned VARCHAR, I mentioned integers, I mentioned the data types you are using to store this information, the restrictions. For the first name, you see, when you're creating the table for students, you see the student ID is an integer, not a decimal, not date time. That restriction is there. So if someone is carelessly entering data, there are guardrails to protect and say, no, this helps to improve the data accuracy, like I mentioned earlier. You can see the first name, varchar, the limit 45. Understand the variable character. So each data type too also serves as you're creating the table. It's nothing complex. Also serve to help you, get your guardrails and to guide you, so that you don't make mistakes or other people don't tamper with the data, so there are no errors. Yeah. So moving on. So for those of us who might not have gone through the content first on Athena, although I always recommend it, because when you go to the content on Athena, when you come to the webinar, a lot of things make sense and it's easier to digest. For those of us who are seeing SQL syntax for the first time, do not panic. I'll break it down. You see, most of the time, when you start doing the integrated project and you start working with SQL, if you check out most of the errors, no matter how experienced you are, will be syntax errors. Hey, you missed one keyword there. Oh, you missed one comma there. Oh, you didn't specify something over there. So now, using that data set, that database, ALX Academy, you can even try out some of this syntax on, MySQL Workbench on your own free time. I will show you examples, explain what they are doing, and just, let you have a feel for what's going on. So you see, the first thing is use ALX Academy. This after we have created the database. You see it in the data set we give. When you create the database, you now specify use ALX Academy. If you do not specify, with every query you do, with everything you do, you have to now write ALX Academy dot the table name you want to go through, and that sounds inefficient. But once you use the keyword use at the database, you are good to go. You just start querying, inserting, updating, reading data, deleting, creating, etc. So you can see from the explanation, use ALX Academy, use the database name. Then the next query that follows wants to retrieve the columns that exist from the students table. It wants to get all the information from the students table, and it limits the numbers to 10. So that limit 10 is nothing complex. It's just that, for example, when I start the demo, you see something, you see that there's not enough space. If I wanted to see 100 students at once, I would have to stretch, I'll have to, using that icon slider, you have to increase the size, you have to. So at times, if you just want to look at a sample of the data and know what you're working with, have an idea, okay, how to query, how to go about things, or even to debug, identify errors, you use the limit keyword and put the number of rows you want to see. So it just selects all from the students table. The star sign is just all. So little by little, I hope the syntax, especially when querying, makes sense. You want to see everything on students table, select the star sign, and then from what the from is normally followed by the table. What table don't select from? And the name of the table is student. If I go back to, let me go back to the ERD, you see, from students table. And then the next query that follows is, and also don't forget when I on my SQL workbench, you see that there's this semicolon at the end. So there's an option to run everything at once, or to run everything from where this semicolon ends. So this semicolon just signifies, okay, this is where the query ends. And then you're good to go. You can run it. You can run that specific line that is ended by the semicolon. So the next one will be a query that is trying to get the first name and country from the student table. And they just want students from Nigeria. It's not intentional. It just came up. It's not because I'm from Nigeria too. So yeah. And then also to output the order in ascending, output the results in an ascending order. So remember, the first query was, I wanted to select all from the students table. But now we want just the first name and the country. So the first thing, once you're querying, the first keyword that comes to your mind should be select, not update, not delete, not insert, not how far, not hey, select. You select the first name, and since you're selecting from two tables, the first name, then a comma, and then the second table. And then the second column, the first name, a comma. Since you're selecting from multiple columns, you select the first name, comma, and then the country. That's from the second column. And then from what table? From the students table, because you want the info from the students. And then there's a condition. I hope you can remember Explore 101 when we talk about conditional statements. Remember the diagrams. I hope it's going to make sense. If not, you can always go back. That's a bit of Athena. You can always go back and cross-check. And then the condition is where. And remember, there's a column called country. So you say where the country is equals to Nigeria. But if you notice something, we didn't just write in Nigeria. We put the quotation marks above to signify that, okay, this is a string. And there's a warning here, because at times you might, if you use a double quote or a single quote, it goes, but it is not, how do I put it? To make your life easier, simply don't mix them up, because you would have issues. You definitely have issues. So in the query, if you're using a single quote to signify strings, please just go with that. If you're using double quotes, please go with that. But I personally suggest single quotes. And then remember, in the query, we said we want to find out the order. And then we said order by first name. So in ascending order, it's going to do this automatically alphabetically. So I hope little by little, the syntax that looks kind of tricky is beginning to make sense. I hope you have explained it. If you run into any issues or if you forget, your mind will just, especially when you're given a task, you want to get info. Like, okay, what am I trying to do? Okay, I'm querying. Select. Okay, what am I selecting? And then from where is this info located? So I hope as I've broken down the syntax, it makes sense to especially those of us who are seeing this for the first time. And it's nothing scary at all. Hope we are good to go. So you see, further examples of syntax talking about conditional statements. The one before was asking where the students are from Nigeria. This one is asking where the students passed the exam, meaning with a score greater than 50. So you can see with this condition now, I hope it's ringing bells about flowcharts and pseudocodes. So you're selecting all the students who passed the exam, and you can see greater than or equal to 50. Select all from what? From the table marks. The condition where the score is greater than 50. And then you can see the second query asking for students who failed test 2. And this is it's almost similar to the first query, but there's no panic, just that the main difference is that it needs the student ID, and it wants to specify those who failed test 2. the first query is using the star sign select all. But now it just wants the student ID to know those who failed and those who, especially those who failed test 2. You know the table from marks, and then where test 2, the score was less than 50. And don't forget to end your query, the query line with a semicolon. Yeah. We see another example going forward. As usual, starts with selecting all from students whose first name starts with T. So the like keyword there, next week I'll, go further and discuss keywords like this and what they do, especially when we are talking about SQL functions. But for now, just like it says on the slide, the like keyword just matches a string to a pattern. So here we're just trying to find students whose first name start with T. So if you notice, T, the string, and then the modulo sign comes after T. Just to get students whose first name start with T. So it's nothing tricky there. Selecting all from students where the first name like T, but how you package the T is different. The T, you put your quotation marks to signify that it's a string, and then the modulo sign after T. So it searches and to make sure that it gets the string that matches the search pattern. Then secondly, there's a scenario where they're trying to send emails to students, but some emails don't exist because the data was filled in wrongly. So you can still see that when I mentioned it helps improve the accuracy. Yeah, you can still do your best, but one or two things might still. So some people filled the ampersand sign instead of the @ sign, and then we're having errors. So in this case, we are trying to update. So we are trying to find out where did we go wrong. Where can we'll find out where the people put and instead of at. And then you search for the student's first name, last name, the emails, and then you find out where in the email contains the ampersand sign instead of at. And then you fix it. So we no longer get errors when we send our emails. So you can see another example of updating the data. In the previous one, we just filtered to know, okay, these are the students that didn't, fill the email correctly. But now we are updating the data. So in this scenario, you see that the student called Angela who filled in an incorrect email address, and we are trying to replace this incorrect email address with the correct one. So now, this is the syntax. Don't worry, it's fine. The syntax is a guardrail. Remember, if you're trying to query, it's select. You're not trying to correct error, you're trying to update. At times, when you're updating, not necessarily that you are correcting an error. Yeah, I just want to change one or two things, might not be an error, but when you want to change, update, you want to update, the keyword is update. What am I doing now? I'm updating. But you can see in the syntax, they specify the database name and then the table name. This is when you don't use the use keyword to specify the database you are using. But we did that earlier, and in the demo, we'll be doing that. So you don't have to specify every time you are running a query to specify the database name you are using. And then you set the column, what column do you want to replace the data in after it meets the condition where. So you use Angela's student ID 8736 from the table called students, and then you update her email to the correct one. So it's the same thing, if you look at the second section, just telling you we've used the use ALX Academy, use the use keyword, so it knows database we are using, and then we update Angela's email. So here it is. Update. What are we updating? We update on the student table. We're setting Angela's email to the correct one. And this is her student ID. We went by the student ID because more often than not, a student ID is the primary key and is unique. The primary key is always unique and is not null. So you're using something that is very sure to update, so you don't have errors. Now, we see something a little bit more complex. Don't worry, not that complex. It's just multiple conditional statements, the syntax. Remember, this is just a soft introduction. We are doing the 4 basic operations: create, read, update, and delete. But this one Don't worry, it's not that complex. It just wants to find out which students' names start with M and who are either from Kenya or Egypt. So there are three conditions. One, the student's last name must start with M. The student is either from Kenya or from Egypt. So remember, we are querying, we are not updating, we are not deleting, we're just querying. We want to find out. So we go to select the first name, the last name, and the country. Remember, the key thing we are focusing on is the last name that starts with M. And then we go from what table? From the student table, where the condition is. Okay, there's a condition now coming. Where the last name, like, remember how we say if you want to find if something starts or ends with something using the like keyword, M, the modulo sign, and in quotation marks. And it must meet this condition too, because we want the students whose last name is starts with M and must come from a country that is either Kenya or Egypt, and country equals to Kenya or country equals to Egypt. And I'm sure you know why we put the quotation marks on Kenya and Egypt, because they are strings. The or just tells us either Kenya or Egypt is literally there in the query. So I hope the SQL syntax is not appearing as scary as it was in the beginning. Hopefully it's making sense to all of us. So at this stage, I'll be moving on to my SQL Workbench for the demo. Been speaking. Now let's practicalize and, get our hands dirty and have fun, actually. So we can see, what all I've been saying being put into action. Thank you for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. At times, when you are speaking and no one is talking back to you, you're like, wow, is anyone there? But I know you guys are there. Wow, thank you guys for the love. You guys are amazing. Woo! I just received a new burst of energy. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. I can see the laugh emojis. You can see I've received a new kick. So let's continue. Hopefully you guys remind me of my joke. I'll open the chat. Maybe Tenda reminds me of the joke while we go along. So to save time, I've created a database. I'll be sending, you receive a file that looks like this. All you have to do is to remove the comments and then run it. So yeah, at times when we are doing one or two things, we have to comment the code. If, for example, for a lot of us, this might be our first programming language. When you comment code, it means this is just plain text. It's not supposed to do anything at all. It's just something I wrote. But for example, you can see when I uncomment the code, you see the colors of the various words, they change. Yeah. So that's what happens. You can even see it's almost the same thing that is here, but it's not commented, meaning this can run. Yeah, so you see it in all blue here because it's commented out. It's just like a comment. You can write almost anything here, but it won't run. It won't affect your code in any way. This is also useful for when you get to debugging your queries. As you go further and further, and hopefully in the workplace, you run a query and it does not make sense. Even in your integrated project, you run a query, it does not make sense. And you already know SQL, as in Coyote taught you SQL, so you're a guru already. As you are certified by ALX, what is the problem? So one of the ways is you start commenting. Remember, I told you can run SQL code line by line. So when I'm running it, you see it line by line. When I'm answering the questions, you see it line by line. I run it line by line. So you can comment out specific lines and then try to pinpoint where your error came from. So you notice here to begin is just write out the 4 operations we'll be carrying out. We'll be creating, reading, updating, and deleting data. So once you get this, you just uncomment and create a database. For the creation, I didn't type it out because of the time involved. Once you run this, you scroll down, these are the questions we'll be going through. We have, I think, 25 of them. We'll do as many as we can. And then I'll leave the rest for you to go and play with and have fun with. So these are the values. When you create database, these are the values you insert into. Remember, you just remove the comment, and then you're good to go. You run it, and then you've inserted the data, and you're good to go, and you can start querying. So yeah, that's that for that. So right here, I have created the data base, ALX Academy. I've used the use keyword so that I no longer have to start typing this database dot this and then the table name I need. No, I'm good to go. I just fire away. And then, excuse me one moment. We create the table. Remember the ERD diagram I showed you? I told you the integer. I mentioned the primary key. Integer is just numbers. The instructor ID is a number. Remember, it has to be unique because the primary key. The primary key cannot be null and it must be unique. For example, you see when we're updating Angela's email address, we do not use her first name or last name because there might be other students called Angela, but the ID is unique. It's like when you're in school or university, you have a unique matriculation number. That number, I don't think it's ever going to be repeated for anybody again. So you can see that replicated as we're creating the database, the unique instructor ID, the unique student ID. And what data type? You have to, as you're creating a database, you have to specify the data type. I would say it's an integer and it's a primary key. And then we use the first name, the last name, we specify the data types and the maximum limit for the characters. So there's a question I'm expecting you guys to ask me. I'm not going to give you guys a hint, but hopefully I see it in the Q&A. If I don't see it in the Q&A, I'll edit this database to give, okay, I won't start issuing threads for now. Let's get to the end. So you see email, country, the mobile phone number, and then once you get to the line, when I start running the example, you see, you just click, I don't know, if you follow my cursor, you see a Thunderbolt sign with one single cursor. So when you click that, it just runs the specific line where the semicolon ends. That specific query, that's what it runs. But if you want to run everything, then you just in the file, you just click on the Thunderbolt icon here without the cursor on it, and it runs everything. So it depends on what you want to do. But for this lesson, we have to be running it line by line. So you've noticed we've created the instructor table, the course table. Like I said, don't panic. You're saying something like, I know I've described the primary key. You know what the foreign key is. It just helps to, connect the two tables that are related. For example, if a course ID, a course ID is on the course table, on the students table, you still need, or let's say on the max table, you still need the course ID because that's related. They have to track, okay, what the students got in which course with their marks. So you still need, just the foreign key just helps to, it helps to bridge two tables in simple terms. Then you can see references. It's just telling you the table with references. So it's nothing complicated. It's just that simple. But the thing is, as we go further, when we get to joins, because we'll be using this same data set subsequently so that we maintain a coherent storyline. When we're talking about functions, we're talking about joins, talking about ARD, CTEs, we're using the same table. So we need several tables so it begins to make sense. But for now, do not panic. In fact, I even suggest maybe if you go through the questions, you can even pick, and there's a table here that does not reference around. Yes, you can use that, the instructor table. You can just play around with only the instructor table and run simple queries with it just to build your confidence with MySQL Workbench. So to get out of the way, we've done for the instructor, the course, the students, for their marks. And the next thing, we inserted the data. I just used sample data for like 5 students each. So we just say insert into. Remember, create, read, update, delete. We inserted these values to the instructor table. We inserted these values to the course. You can see the various courses being taken. And then for the students too, we inserted these values there. The command was simple. But I think I should go further. Let me use the marks to explain. So when we get to marks, you see the 5 numbers there. So, okay, marks is closer. The first number is the student ID. So you don't just insert anyhow. If you go back to the slides, the first number is the student ID. The second number is the course ID. You can see course 101 is Intro to SQL. Please don't, don't let it, it's just, the long story is when you are inserting into a created table, once it's blank or even update, you have to make sure that it follows the pattern of creation or the values, the column names you want to put into. For marks is the student ID, course ID, test 1, test 2, and then the exam in that order. For students is the student ID, the first name, the last name, the email, the country, the city, phone number, etc. So I hope that makes sense. Once you're inserting into various tables, you can't just leave them blank. You have to insert so you can have data to work with. So now we can begin to start tackling questions. So these are the questions we'll be playing around with. So there's a pattern. If you notice, when I say insert a new instructor into the instructor table, the next one is insert a new course taught by the instructor. So I can do insert a new instructor into the instructor table and leave insert a new course taught by the instructor, by instructor 101 for you, because it's similar and you can look at the example I've done. So yeah, it's checkered like that with each example following the other one. It's almost like a replica of the first one. So let's do number 4. Let's insert a new instructor into the instructor table. So the first thing is that, and I thank you very much. I was feeling very lonely. Open the chat. Please, what is the keyword I use? Please, is the chat open?
Yes, it's open now.
Yes, my amazing learners. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am encouraged. Yep, we got it correctly. You guys are amazing. How do I spell instructor? Okay, I remember. Instructor. You guys got it. You guys, it was correct. Truly, I'm not speaking to myself. And I didn't say the answer out loud because one person put something I did not like, but I won't say the answer out loud. But most of you got it correct. Yeah. Remember, that's why I kept hammering on the keyword. The question literally says insert. So yeah, I know it's like the first time, so you might forget. So that's why I say it's always good to remember the keyword. And more often than not, what you are trying to do, it's what you're trying to do gives you what they call an expo to, for example, it says insert. So automatically, it's the keyword should be insert into. If it's to create, if it's to delete, if you want to create, if you want to find out something, you know what to do. So yeah, if you can't say, for example, select when you want to insert something. No, you have issues. So it's quite long. So if you notice, when we are inserting into, we are, remember when I said after we created the tables, we put the values in and it has to follow the sequence. The first thing we now put is the instructor ID. So let's say 102, and then, oh, okay, 102, and then let's say, oh, we have 101, and then let's say, who will I add as an instructor? I wish I saw some of your names. Let me see. Mm, I know some of you. And then John Michael. Okay. Hope I got you right. let's say he came back, he reincarnated and decided to become I feel like asking this as a question, but I wasted the type. Now I wanted to say who, what name am I going to type out? But I feel like when I typed the surname, it was obvious already. So he came back and let's say he became an instructor. And let's give him this email. So typing this out, you see why I say he came back as a Ghanaian. You see why I did not say let's okay. You see why I did not say let's completely type out everything when creating the values, etc. Because yeah, might have issues like that. And then a city, okay, Accra, and then what phone number do we give him? Let me say 33 55 0123. Yeah, I think it should be good. Okay. Regarding our values, yes. Awesome. It's good having this now. The Accra, Ghana isn't highlighting. It's showing as if it's not a string. I have to find out, did I miss inputting a quotation mark somewhere? Did I miss inputting a quotation mark somewhere? Check it out. Okay. I've done for the phone number. Looks like I missed a quotation mark somewhere. I have to take my time. Aha, I've seen it. Awesome. So it happens, even to the best of us. I'm not saying I'm the best of us, but it happens. So remember, you now come to, because I want to run this specific line. Remember, I've done all this. I've created a database, inserted all these values. I'm just a new person coming to work on this, and I just want to do the correction just on this line. And now come and click this icon with the cursor, signifying execute the statement. Yeah. And one thing about my SQL workbench is that it gives you the hints. So you can see it's saying execute the statement under the keyboard cursor. So it appears, let me move it. So it appears you have an error. It's saying insert into the instructor. So when you look down, when you come down here, you can see the output. Okay. It's saying insert into the instructor. So you can always read the error message. It's a good thing we have an error. You can figure out if it runs smoothly, you get a green check mark. If there's an error, you get the red with, the X check mark, the X mark there in red. Insert into this error code 1136. Okay. So what was our issue? We put the instructor ID, we put the first name, the last name, the email. Oh, should we make it, let's see. Okay. Then what else? We said, okay. Column does not, column, the error we have is column does not match value. Okay. The column does not match the value. Okay. That's fine. It happens. Like I said, even to the best of us. Let me run this and see something. Or let me try something. Let me try a different name. Let's see. I use Chris and then I say okay at example.com Accra. I'm thinking my issue is with, let me try alx.com instead of an example.com. I think we should be good to go. I'm still having an error. Also, in the very first very first query I still have to debug. You know what? Without wasting further time, let's try the next question. It's also an insert question, and maybe from there, I can see what the issue is. We'll get back to it and see how far. So, let's see. Let's do the second one. Let's say insert into course. We say course ID, name, description, instructor ID, perspective. Oh, I need to spell instructor. Instructor ID. Instructor. Okay, I think it's here has to go. Instructor ID. And then values. I say I put 201 for the course ID. And then put my quotation marks. Course ID is intro to SQL. Intro to SQL. And then the course description, I say basic SQL course. Hope I spelled this correctly. All right. And then yeah, it should be good to go. Yeah. Yeah. So we can find out that we're able to successfully insert a new course taught by instructor 101. So when you put, I hope you guys can see my screen, Zoom's menu is blocking one or two things. But if you scroll down, you can see the green check mark to confirm that, yeah, you've successfully inserted a new course. So let me see a thumbs up if we are happy now. Don't worry, we'll tackle that question for again. Yeah. All right. All right. So here, simply, we just inserted a new course following the syntax insert into course, the course ID, which is I didn't even spell intro. Let me spell intro properly now, which is 201, and then intro to SQL, the name, the description, basic SQL course, and instructor ID. It's just a basic way, of inserting a simple course, into the database. I hope the syntax is not too confusing. I hope it's making sense for us. And I hope little by little we can see, if we go wrong, how we can start checking. Because of time, that's why I went to question number 5. But if there's something wrong with the query, if you look down to where my cursor is, it shows in red and says, okay, something doesn't make sense. Well, if it's good to go, you get a green check mark, and then it's smooth sailing. So yeah. Another question we can tackle. Let's do number 8. Let's retrieve all students from Nigeria. Let's see. So this one is quite simple. I don't know, Tenda, you can open up the chat. What's the keyword I start with here? Let me see it in the chat. The keyword to retrieve all students from Nigeria. All right. All right. All right. You all got it correctly. I'm happy I'm not alone. Awesome. So we select, and then remember the star sign, all from students where country is equal to, don't forget our quotation marks, Nigeria. And if I don't know if you can recall, but this is exactly an example that you can get directly from the slides. So when you finish typing it, don't forget to end it and tell, so you can run this particular line, and then you run it. And then you can see your output here. If you look down, you say, okay, the query was successful, there's a green check mark. And then you can see the output. It's only Chidera that is from Nigeria in this our data set, or this our database. So okay, let's do number 7. Let's add marks for a student, for student 301 who's doing course 201. Yeah, let's play with that. So none of you even began to wonder why I said I was going to crack a joke when we got to this part. Well, the thing is, at times when you're taking webinars like this and everywhere is quiet, occasionally I have to say, hey, Tendai, open up the chat and ask questions and this and that. So at times to fill in that space, because I've explained the concept before, I'm doing a similar question. I feel like it's cool to crack a joke or two. So I think my joke goes like this. Yes, I have time for the joke. There's this name I discovered. It's not on this data set here. It's a Congolese name, and it's called Wan-Bissaka. So I think there's a Wan-Bissaka who's a footballer. I was just thinking, imagine he had a younger brother, who, let's say he left the country to go to England to join his brother to play. And because he went towards his brother, they named him Tu Bissaka. That's T-O Bissaka. And then it always sounds funny when there's a Wan Bissaka, W-A-N Bissaka, and a T-O Bissaka. I know there'll be a lot of jokes. But something now happened, and let's say the family now is involved in climate action. They're trying to, maybe part of even our SDG goals, and they are planting a lot of trees. And then they give birth to their younger sister. And in acknowledgement of all the work they are doing, they name their younger sister Tri Bissaka. So there's Wan Bissaka, Tu Bissaka, Tri Bissaka. Okay, I think I have an error here. 301. Okay, what is the issue now? Let me try this. You know what? I'll complete my joke while we're debugging, while I'm looking at it. So, they have a younger sister called Tri Bissaka, and then they now give birth to another child, and people will be like, you obviously can't name her for Bissaka because, yeah, their life is not a comedy skit. Why would you name your child for Bissaka? Obvious, it's becoming a joke. But then again, just to acknowledge, the work the family has done in the country by planting trees to respect their legacy, they actually named the child FOR Bissaka, for Bissaka. I hope it was funny to some. If it wasn't, please bear with me. It's not easy doing stand-up. And I just came up with a joke for this webinar. Yeah. So I'm doing question 10 just to show the instructors in Ghana. I'll try and go back to 7 and 4 if we have the time. At least you can play around with debugging. So we're selecting all from instructor where country, so it's similar to like Nigeria equals to Ghana. Yeah. So awesome. So if this is good to go, notice that we're having, okay, we didn't have any issue with when we're inserting a course. So we're having an issue when we're trying to insert into marks. Okay, what could have been the issue? Insert into marks, student ID, course ID. Did I spell something wrong? Thank you so much for the laughs. Sorry. Okay. Student ID, course ID, and I spelled it well. Test 1, test 2, exam. Okay, where could the error be coming from? Let's try again. Let's see. 2131. Okay, let me try something. Let's see if I still get an error. I still get an error. Okay, let me not waste time. Let me put an extra hyphen. Oh no, just put a bracket to signify. So it might be in case we have time, we come back and debug and find out what the issue is. Alrighty. So it's showing the query is correct, but it seems I might have misspelled something. I need to check if I misspelled something, because remember I told you there are boundaries. Is a good example to show this error. If you don't spell it correctly, you don't put the right data type, you are definitely going to have issues. You're definitely going to have errors. So it's a good example when I say provide security, accuracy. Yeah, if you're querying the wrong thing, you have issues. So most likely, because for example, you can see if it's a syntax error, you find out that even right here before I run it, it's showing a wrong check mark, meaning there's an issue here, there's an issue here. But technically, the query is correct. But one or two things, there's an issue somewhere when trying to insert, when trying to insert the values in. So there's an issue. The query is correct, but there's an issue there. And most likely it's showing that, okay, right here might not be a syntax error, but maybe you misspelled something, and maybe because I'm in a rush. But let me see, if we have time, I'll get back to it and we'll see how far. But for now, let's say, okay, let's delete. Let's do delete. Since you're doing CRUD, create, read, update, delete. Let's do question 50. Let's delete a course with ID 201. I think I'll take my time slowly with this one to make sure that there are no errors. So we want to delete a course with course ID 201. We say, what's the keyword? You guys should help me out in the chat. What's the keyword? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Once it comes to delete, you're good to go. Oh, forgot. All right. Delete from set. Sorry. Delete from course where where course ID is equal to 201. Yeah. Remember, we're already running this line. We're having issues. You know what? Let me go and check database. Let me see where we're having issues. Delete from course where. So, all right. There is no course called 201. Let's delete 105. So at times it happens like that. Let's say you need to still cross-check and find out. For example, if I open this, you would see the database. You can cross-check the table names, the various columns, and how they are named so you don't misspell. You see the course the course column, the instructor column, so you can cross-check, especially when you're debugging, having errors like, okay, that means a spelling somewhere, etc., etc. You can start from there, and then you are good to go. You start debugging from there, and then you shouldn't have any issues. So we try deleting. I put the hyphen sign. So yeah, so you can see an example of syntax error. So I'm getting an error because I put the hyphen sign instead of the equal to sign. And I said I'll type this one slowly. So yeah, more often than not, if you cross-check, you find out that it's a comma missing there, it's a hyphen missing there, it's one or two things. So you just have to cross-check and make sure you spelled everything correctly. So where's my course ID? All right. Okay. And then no, not author. Wonderful. It's not an error. But there's no issue. At times there's a setting where I think I need to check. There's a setting whereby you can't just correct the database and I have to go to the MySQL workbench to that setting, and I just but it's fine. I think you can try this exact same syntax on your own. And if you don't have that issue, you should be good to go. I think there's a setting where it's supposed to be 0 or 1 to alter the database. And I think I've not switched it. So because technically I kind of I just recovered this my workbench. I lost the password. I had to use terminal to recover, but it's fine. It's fine. The other examples we can use. Let's see if we can get the lowest exam score. So this one should be a non-issue. Let's try and get the lowest exam score. Let's see. So I'm using a math function, and then remember next week I'm taking on SQL functions, and there you understand what we use the math functions for, how they help us. They're basically just tools, like I said, especially in when you're using SQL. So we're saying we're using us as an alias to just give it, so our output makes sense. So we say lowest exam, and then from marks. So we should be good to go. So you see that the lowest score here, if you check my output, is 63. And it gives it the new alias, lowest exam. So this is just a temporary view. It doesn't permanently alter the database. If you check in the slides, you might see one in there where it says, don't just go around altering the database. In fact, even on my SQL workbench, some of you might even have that issue. We are trying to alter one or two things and it does not go till you change that setting from, I think it's 0 to 1 or 1 or 1 to 0. I'm not sure. But this, since you're just trying to get a view, you're not altering the database permanently, you get this output where the lowest score is 63. And you're querying. So I'm sure you're familiar by now. You use the select keyword and the minimum score. The mean is just a math function. We'll get into that next week as the lowest exam score for marks, and then you're good to go. So you shouldn't have any issue with that. Okay. Let's try some questions where I don't have to edit the database. Let's do this one. Let's find out how many instructors are in each country. That's 23. So we say how many, rather than find out how many instructors are in each country, we say select count or from the table instructor, where, remember the conditional statement, where country equals to Nigeria. So since we are not, should be good to go. Limit, okay, no, we don't need any limit, but it's fine. Make count from a structure. Select count from a structure where, oh, I spelled instructor wrong. It happens. Where country equals to Nigeria. Yes, so here we're good to go. So we have no instructors from Nigeria. So if you take your time, often when you have an error, you just find out that you spelled something wrong or you didn't put a quotation mark somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, good to go. Um, how many have we done now? Yeah, we still have time for some. I think we're making good time. We're making good time. It's in my head. I really want to go back and I think I'll do one more. I'll go back and see if we can debug question 4. These are just simple query, delete, retrieve. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do 24. Let's try and find out the names of all students that I got this correctly. Names of all students that start with A. So I come here and yeah, let's do this. So remember, we're querying. You guys know this by now. Whenever I ask, you always get it correctly. So we need a chart for that. We select the first name. Select the first name from what table? Students table, where the first name, remember this keyword, like, excuse me, let me do this, A, and then the modular sign. We should be good to go. Aha. So we find out that when you look at my output, it's only Amina whose name and whose first name, starts with A. So yeah, and looking at a bunch of questions. I think it's only that some inserting and deleting we had issues with. Where's down I marked. I hope it's, let me see a thumbs up if these questions and explanations are making sense if we are together. I know there'll be some hiccups, but if we've been together, please let me see some thumbs up. Or let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. All right. Sorry, Tenda, is the chat open? Uh-oh. Tenda, can you hear me?
Yes, Kadi, we can hear you.
All right.
Is
Okay.
I think the chat is, let me quickly check.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, it's open.
It's open. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if we can. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. All right. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful, guys. Yeah, it really feels like I'm not alone here. So, let me see. Question 4. Let's see. We did the instructor ID, the first name, the last name, the email, the city, and the mobile. Let's see if it works out now. Oops, we're still having issues. I remember I added country instead of city. I added country and city. Let's see. Let's see the examples of the phone numbers. Let me take out this hyphen. Let's see. Still having issues. No, but it's fine. It happens. When we're live programming, it's fine. And with me rushing, I think I might have skipped one or two things. Under instructor, let me check. What do we have here? First name, last name. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I should add country before city. Yeah. Country was what was missing there. Country before city. Once again, let me try by adding Ghana. Yeah. So it happens. Times you are working on a project, you are rushing, you have to take your time. Okay, where could you have gone wrong? Okay. Let's see, what could have been, what could be the issue? Email, country, city, mobile. You know what? I know it's something I'm sure if you take your time, you would get it. I'm kind of rushing here, but I think we should, go out on a win. So let me look for, let's do this 17. Let's say we want to find the average exam score. Sorry, let me close this. Okay, we want to find the average exam score from the marks table. We know we are running a query, and we use the math function average, and then we give it an alias as average, let's say score, and then from where? From the table called marks, and then should be good to go. Yep, you get your output, you get your average score of 81.4. So thank you so much. I know we had hiccups. I think I'll still go back and look for and do some debugging, and I'm sure I missed one of the things as I was typing. But hopefully,
Sorry, Coyote, can I quickly jump in? You know, the error code says this is a duplicate entry for the key instructor, you know. So, yeah, I think that we will share the debugging and find out what it is. But what you guys saw here was just a live example of what you guys will go through. There's a lot of debugging because of some comma or the syntax, maybe you spelt it wrong, or the name of the column or the feature, you know. So you see that it happens even with us as instructors, you know. So don't panic when it happens on your side. Relax, read that response there. As you can see, it says duplicate error 101. So then it guides you to the right place to actually look for it. Okay, but yeah, thank you so much, Coyote. You can go on.
all right. Wazi. Oh, it finally worked. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nawazi. So yeah, it happens. The query went through, it was a duplicate. I didn't memorize the entries. So yeah, if you use a different number, maybe I'm sure if I use 1082, it should work. Yeah, so thank you so much. I kept looking at it, but I didn't see it. It happens in debugging, like I said, even to the best of us. So yeah, thank you so much, Nawazi. I'm grateful. Teamwork makes the dream work. I think I still have time to go through one or two. Let's see. Let's get number 19. Let's get the highest score for test one. Let's say let's see. You already know the keyword by now. Now I'm thinking, should I have saved the joke for now? Or that error actually just ruined the delivery. But it's fine. It's fine, everyone. It happened. I remember when I was training at the academy, Muzi used to tell us, when you're doing live programming, that is when everything that can go wrong kind of goes wrong. But it's cool. I'm happy you guys have been supportive. It's awesome. So yeah, we're trying to get the highest test one score, and just run this single line, and you find out that the highest score is 95. So yeah, so it's, if you go through the questions, it's just something similar. Just you keep going like that, and following this example, you should be good to go. So let me head back to the slides. Oh, coming. Yes. All right. All right. Here we are. We're good to go. So yeah, that was the demo. Yeah, it might not have been as smooth as would have loved. But that's the reality. You have debugging. Yeah, when you're writing work in production, you run into these issues. And at the end here, there is a note to help you not to run into this kind of issue. Or other issues that might come up. And it's just talking about, when you're creating your password. It's saying, especially for MySQL Workbench, please don't use any special characters because you might have issues with your notebook. So as much as possible, please, your password when installing my Workbench should be simple. Just use normal letters and don't use special characters. And then there's a first aid session to just, top up what we've done here, smoothing things over, yeah, and also help to facilitate and help your learning. So it's also mentioned that the data set is also in the slides. When the slides are given to you, you get the data set and also an option for you to get more resources. So I think now I'll go into the Q&A. Let me check out the Q&A. Okay. So the first question is from Kashmir. Sorry for butchering the name. Kashmir Maturi, and he's saying, why should we select the first name yet we're interested in the last name alone? Trying to figure out where that question is. So okay, I don't know if I'm referring to question 24, but it's actually the first name we selected here. So I'm trying to find out if I did a question like that. So from the ones I've done here, it's just the first name. It's actually the first name I picked. So, or maybe I'm referring to the slide. Let me go back. Where do I find the Q&A? Okay, I've seen the Q&A. Have I? Okay. Next one. Can we use the like operator? Can we use the like operator with double quotation mark? Yes, like I mentioned earlier, the single quotation mark and the double quotation mark, you can use them, but it's not advisable to use them interchangeably in one single query. So you don't have errors. As you can see, just a wrong comma, a wrong letter, a wrong number. You have issues. And imagine, let's say, you're writing thousands of lines of SQL queries. You have to start looking for, what line has that error. Okay, Nasike, you asked, how do I specify the data type, like integer? I'm sure you're referring to when I'm creating the data set and creating the tables. So if you notice, when I scroll up here, once you write, for example, when it comes to creating the table for marks, you write student ID space and int or integer, and you've specified the data type. Patience, thank you for this light-hearted question. Please, why the country Ghana? I love Ghana. I've been there. It's an amazing place, amazing people. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Simiso, thank you. Thank you for helping out with that error. That was awesome. It's the same thing Owalzi pointed out. And at times when you're doing these things and rushing, you skip one or two things. You're looking at it, but you're not seeing it. So thank you so much. Idoko says, thank you very much. The whole thing like magic with my full concentration. It's not like magic, Idoko. That's why I kept talking about syntax. When you want to do something, just remember the key thing is syntax. Syntax is what you're typing. And as you can see, even when I had issues, the MySQL Workbench, if you look below at the output, the green check mark shows, okay, you're doing the right thing. The red check mark is telling you, okay, there's an error here. It gives you an error code and you can start debugging from there. And then you also take your time. Hopefully, you will not be giving a webinar when you're practicing your SQL and you are rushing. You take your time and then you go through it and you look for, and you compare with the database you've created. Because if I was using multiple tables and if anything does not match it, remember I mentioned if it does not match, there are boundaries, like the first slide, you have errors. You would even be able to input the data, like what I was getting. Since there's an error, I could not update the data. So yeah. Okay, difficulty seeing the output. Okay, let me minimize this. Apologize for that. The zoom controls here. Oof, but it's fine. I hope. So the output is, yeah. So that's the output there. On your MySQL Workbench, you see the output better when you're doing the practical. Why is the exam written in the next line? So again, just to help with ability, it's nothing special. You can write it on one long line, but it won't look nice. We would all struggle reading it and we'll have issues. So Maxine, that's why I just used enter to move it to the next line. Sarah is saying, please, I can't create a table. Okay, don't forget, I think I should reiterate this one more time. You have to uncomment the, remember here, let me clear this. Here, the SQL code is commented. You have to uncomment to get to be able to run the query. So make sure you remove the comments and just for now, just follow this by providing the data type, specifying is a primary key, or even you yourself creating a simple one. You can create a table with just 2 columns or 3 columns and play around with it. And the syntax is simple. Remember, it's called create table. We can say create table soft drinks, and you can say, or create table drinks. You can say a column name soda, and that column name then smoothies, etc. And then you just specify for soda, you just say varchar. After I write soda in lowercase, varchar, and limit, let's say 45 in brackets with your comma. And at the end, when you specify the column names like that, you put the bracket and then your hyphen and run it, and you've created a table. So Sarah, I hope that makes sense to you. You can also still, if this explanation is not okay and the data set I've sent is not okay, you can also still put the question on answer base, and then step by step, we'll give you specify, and give you a sample to work with. Okay, so Adelaide is asking, how did I do the sub selection on question 7? Okay, so for question 7, let me move around this menu. So we're trying to add marks for student 301 in course 201. But because of my rush, yeah, I put in, let me calm down now. And in fact, I think let me specify student ID. Let's look for an actual student ID here. Let's say let's see, let me use 1. So student ID 1, course ID, okay, there's a course, let's say 105 cloud computing. And then we're adding marks for test 1, that's 18, test 2, and exam, so 3 of them. So now that we are in Sena climbs and times, it should run. Yes, finally we have cleared all our bugs. All our queries are good to go. So yes, I specified, I'm inserting, I'm updating. If you look down, you can see the green check mark that the query worked this time around. So the thing is, I use the insert into keyword, and what table, that is the marks table. You have to make sure it matches what you're doing. You can always go back to check, or you can use this, you can use this sidebar. You can go to, let's say, okay, let me look for marks. Yeah, you come to marks and you see the column names there. So when you're updating, you have to make sure that it matches. So make sure that the student IDs actually available on the student table. The course ID is also available, and then you just add the integers for the test 1, which is 18, test 2, which is 20, and the exam. Adelaide, I hope that makes sense. Did that make sense, Adelaide? Hopefully it did. So Anonymous asks saying, why did we use quotes on the instructor ID value 101? Why did we use quotes? I don't think I use quotes on 101 because it's an okay. Oh, actually see it now. Let me try something and see if this will go. See, there's an error. So when I came to instructor ID, okay, the ID value 101. Let me go back and confirm again from the data set. Instructor values. Okay, and the new courses by instructor. So we put in the course ID, the name, the description, and the instructor ID. This shouldn't have gone, and I think I should still get an error now. Yes, it shouldn't work because that was wrong. I didn't cross-check. So I think I do something like I change, first of all, I change the course ID. I make sure it matches what we have. Yeah, let's say I change the course ID to 104. 104. And then I remove this. And then the instructor ID that matches. Yeah, let's give this to Fatima. Let's say 2. So here we go. So we should be good to go now. Okay. Course ID intro to SQL. Okay, intro to SQL is 101. Sorry. It happens. Let's try this now. There's description, SQL queries. Okay. So I'm fiddling around with the Zoom controls. It's crazy over here. All right. Course ID. It's not supposed to be name. It's supposed to be. All right. I'm creating the course. I have to go back and check. Okay. It's actually name. But actually, it's not supposed to be in quotation marks 101. That was an error from my part. I was typing quickly and so I've adjusted it there. It's not supposed to be 101. I hope that makes sense. Kain Solar said, did you create a table? Yes, I created a table before I began because if not, I would have had to type all this out. So even when I give you the data set, you can just, once you uncomment, you run it. Once you go to this line, you click on this icon that runs it line by line, and then you are good to go. You just create the table automatically. Even when you come to inserting the data, you just come to the end of this, you click on it to run this specific query, and then you are good to go. Akili, yeah. I think that must have been an issue too. I was talking of Bisaka and then I just I think next time I'll keep the jokes for later, maybe at the end of the webinar. So I was trying my stand-up routine and I just mixed it up. Thank you so much. What a light-hearted comment. Thank you, Akili. You guys are awesome. I'm grateful for your support. Are these questions of the same magnitude or each? Yes. If you just go through all the questions I give, they're all easy, they are basic. You're just doing query, you're deleting, updating, inserting. From next week, when we're doing SQL functions, yeah, we're going to work with math functions, date time, string functions. When we're concatenating, yes, you now see that the questions that I'm going to give you become a little bit tougher. and the increasing complexity. But now this is just to whet your big arcana. Yeah, these are actually simple questions that had to make them really, really simple for us to work with. So yeah. Okay, Chidima, I don't understand your question. Please should do a find question. Okay, do a find question. Let me see. Find. Okay, yeah. So I think we have time for that. I think we should do a find question. So let's confirm that the students have, yeah. Okay, I think we should make it 2023. So yes, Anonymous, you're getting all the data sets and everything. Let's make it 2023. So I'm coming, let me move these controls up. Let's do a find question. All right, I think this 23. We say select or from students where year underscore enrollment, let's say equal to, because I'm not sure if it's the 2024, but I think I saw 2023. 2023. Yeah. Year of enrollment is equal to 2023. Yeah, it should be good to go. Quickly delete this. Enrollment equals to 2023. Let me check this out. Yep. So when we run that kind of query, I don't know if you can see my screen. The questions are blocking it. So you can see students who, let me enlarge the output. Where is, okay, I've seen it. So when I enlarge the output, I hope you can see clearly because I can't. You can see the student ID, the first name, last name, email, country, the city, the mobile numbers, and the year of enrollment of the students who enrolled in the year 2023. So Chidima, I hope this question answered your question, if it makes sense. Okay, Anonymous said, must every select come with the star sign? No, when you're using the star sign, you just want to get, in fact, not even advisable, in production, in the work environment, you just want to get everything. That's why even after at times when you use the star sign and it's a very large data set, unlike this really small one, you have to put the limit, you have to use the limit keyword, maybe you limit it to 5 rows, 10 rows, 20 rows. So it's not every select that must come with the star sign. Yeah, more often than not, you have to be specific. Yeah, when you start dealing with things like computing resources, you can't just even query anyhow. It's dangerous to, I won't say dangerous, but it costs more to use that star sign. But like I said, simple questions, baby steps. We move deeper next week. So I can see that's the last question for now. Asitonka, you are welcome. Yeah, I'm really glad you guys gained something from this. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You guys have been awesome.
Coyote, thank you so much for the insightful webinar. You just missed the last slides about, notes and tips and some resources for the learners. If
All
you go,
right. I spoke to them about this actually.
is it? Oh, okay. Oh, this part, yeah.
Yes, I've spoken to them about this. I mentioned it before going to the Q&A.
Okay, great. Then, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mazi.
Okay, thank you so much, Coyote, for such an insightful session. I'm sure you can see the clips there on the screen. And yeah, today the feedback was much better, although we would prefer you guys to give us like how you felt about the session, all of you. But yeah, the feedback that we got from you was cool. Thank you so much for that. Now that Coyote has introduced us to SQL, I'm sure you now understand why I'm saying it's about to go down. Because a simple mistake could really mess up your work. So please, guys, practice patience and take your time while you are going through the data set. We'll share it with you, and you can always use it as you are watching the recording, so you can see how things get to where they got here on the session. All right. Before we give announcements, we have heard your cry. A lot of you are saying our time for webinars is not really convenient for most. So please allow me to launch a poll. We have different options where you can just choose which time works for you, and we will just go with that one. So please indulge us as we are giving you the announcements. Just choose a time that works for you, and we will just go with the time that most of you vote for. So while you are voting on that one, just a reminder as well, on our support platforms, we have Zendesk. This is for all program related queries. So you are going, like now we have the payment issue thingy. Before you even approach any team member, please just log it officially with Zendesk, because they are the ones who keep an official record of who is affected and what issue everyone is facing. So please, guys, always remember to take your issues via Zendesk, and then we'll address them on our end as well. Then Answerbase, you are now getting into SQL. A lot of questions are going to come up as you are watching the recordings, as you are going through the content. Answerbase is the space for you to go to for content related support, because that is where our technical mentors are for assistance. And then of course we've got Leah, which is our AI support tool. So in case you need anything with fast responses, Leah is your place to go. And then when it comes to announcements, it's just reminders, not really announcements, because yeah, it's just us reminding you guys that if you have any pending assessments, please, you can still submit them, but you know that first attempt that gives you an opportunity to score more than 50 is gone. So just be sure to review your content, go through it, and submit your pending assessments so that we all go and are in one pace. And then the first assessment that is for this module is due next Monday, the 2nd of June. So please just get started if you haven't started. Engage with your peers, join whatever group for support, and make sure that you indulge us as well, ask questions before the weekend so that everyone is on track for submission next week. And of course, guys, I'm sure you've seen on the community spaces, your SGD leads are introducing themselves, they are proposing stuff. So please just engage with them as well, and let's help create a conducive environment and make it easier for everyone of us to get to the top. I think that is all from us today. Not sure if Nolazi, you have something?
No, nothing on my side.
Okay, no, that's all then. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We will be sharing a recording tomorrow. Yeah, a first aid recording, just an extra resource to help you as you go through the content for this week. So be on the lookout as well. And please, guys, just take time once per day to just go on the community. If you are busy, just go there, look at our announcements. On the squads, there's some activity there. You don't have to suffer alone, because we are here to work as a team. So yeah, that is all from us for today. Coyote, please give us some music as we close. Thank you, guys.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.